We're often reporting on suspects going through bond court, but do you really know what that means? Attorney David Aylor is here to explain the bond process. Counselor, thanks for being here. So let's say someone gets arrested for an offense. They're going in to have this bond hearing. Tell us what the steps are involved.
Well, the first step is they're going to get a bond hearing, usually in 24 hours. That's when it's supposed to be, very quickly. And the reason for that is you've got to remember that these people are just, presumed innocent.
Right.
So therefore, they shouldn't have to stay in the jail if they're able to post that bond. Now, not everybody gets a bond, meaning there's certain cases that have to go in front of a judge in general sessions court and the circuit court level, like murder and things like that. But primarily speaking, you can have a bond set there at the bond court.
So let's say that someone was arrested. They're going through this. Usually it's a fine. It's a penalty that you're paying to get out of prison. And people go through bail bondsmen. Tell us about that process as well. Right.
Basically what you're going to have is a couple different options. First of all, you could have what is called a PR bond, a personal recognizance bond. They may set an amount and call it unsecured under your personal recognizance, basically meaning you're going to get out for free. You're not going to have to pay any money. As long as you don't violate any of the conditions, then you won't have to ever come back and pay any money for the bond. However, if they do set what they call a surety bond, then they're going to ask for that certain amount of money, for instance, like $10,000, maybe the surety bond. Well, there's not a lot of people that just have $10,000 laying around. So what they'll do is they'll hire a bail bonding company, which then the bail bonding company will put up the bond for the individual, and then they have to pay the bail bonding company a fee.
Eventually, do you have to pay all of that money back to the bail bondsman?
No, usually the percentage is around 8 to 10%. So ultimately, if you had a $10,000 bond, you would pay the bail bonding company, $800 to $1,000.
And what's the point of that monetary exchange?
The point for basically the courts are wanting to secure any court appointments that come up for that individual. If somebody just gets out of jail, the thought process is, and they have no reason to come back to court. They may leave the state, that sort of thing. However, if they have their own money, their own property, or a bail bonding company's money put up for it, then there's going to be a reason to really tie them back in.
Let's talk about conditions of those bonds. Some people get electronic monitoring. There's been a lot about that in the headlines around here in Charleston County.
Right, and right now there's a moratorium on it from Charleston County simply because of the process that it's going through. Basically what happens with electronic monitoring is that is exactly as you said it's a condition of the bond. And what a person has to do then is get an ankle monitor and wear that ankle monitor at all times. That ankle monitor comes through usually a third-party monitoring company. Sometimes the bail bondsmen themselves have them. And what that can do is basically, track them as to where they are and what they're doing. And they may have certain guidelines. They're not supposed to leave their home for only, church, work, or school. And what ends up happening is these people that are caught violating them because they're out committing other crimes and they're not even supposed to be where they are, yet they're still wearing the ankle monitor.
And that was kind of the big issue with this, is that they were wearing the monitors and perhaps weren't being tracked. Is that what was going on?
Well, it's not so much that they weren't being tracked as their violations when they were being tracked were not being reported. Essentially, it's the objective of the electronic monitor to know where this person is, and if they get outside those areas, is for that information to be reported. Some say that the issue is that there's no really reporting process. Also, sometimes it's considered a conflict of interest because clearly the person who's renting you the electronic monitor is then going to lose money if he or she reports you that you're violating the monitor's terms.
Indeed. All right. Attorney David Aylor, thank you for your insight and your information. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. We'll be right back with more Low Country Live in just a moment.